Hi there, this is Manny with Classic Auto Repair. Got an update on the 65 Mustang. She's up and running now, but needed a lot of work. Looks like there's been some modifications on the ignition system, and that was wired incorrectly. The spark plug themselves are fouled, so that's why it wouldn't start. Part of the reason. The reason the engine wouldn't start when I tried to bypass the systems and get it fired up was because these spark plugs are just completely fouled out with gas. So and that's all of them, all 8. So it didn't want to run even if I could get it running, and that was because of this right here. These wires were supposed to be 12 volt and they had 5 volts because the original ignition system uses a ballast resistor coil. The upgrade here is a 12 volt coil. It needs full 12 volt here and inside of the distributor. So that wire that comes from the ignition switch will not work. I ran a new wire from here through the firewall to the fuse block so that it has an ignition source. The other problem is the ignition wire itself is on the wrong pole of the ignition switch. So when you're turning the key, now let me show you. So this is a voltage meter right here. Let's stick it where you can see it. Okay, so I've got it sitting here so you can see it. And here's the other problem is when you turn the key to the on position, okay, the key is on the on position. You've got your voltage there to the coil, and that says just under 12 volts, 11 volts. Right now the battery's charging. But when I turn the key to the on position, watch what happens to the voltage to the coil. It only comes on when I let off of the key. If you turn it, it's supposed to be in the on position while you're cranking, and it's not. It's going off. Well, when I hit that key, watch what happens. It goes off, I let go of the key, and then it restores. So that means the wire is not that goes to that coil is not connected to the right pole on the back of the ignition switch. There is a special pole that allows 12 volt with the key cranking, and when you release it, it always stays in the on position and is off right now in the off position. So that is a electrical issue that I'm gonna have to get up in the dash and fix that wire that goes to the coil, and that'll restore that. But if I bypass it, just turn the key into the on position so that I get 12 volts to the coil, and then I use my ignition button here, I can get her to fire up just fine. And I've got it smoothed out pretty good as well. Oops, sorry about that. So I've got the engine running. She's running really good now. Idling is pretty good. Not really happy with the carburetor. The carburetor itself has got some little issues. I can hear it kind of chugging along. I also put a fuel filter in it because it wasn't getting enough gas. It may still have some restrictions in the fuel tank, and I'll have to look at that. But so far, I don't know on that carburetor if there's anything I can do. I put an accelerator pump on it when it first came in, and that fixed the big leak up here. But there could be some passages that are blocked in the carburetor, which is causing it not to respond to any of my adjustments. I really can't get the idle where I want it because the flappers have to be left open to get the idle to respond. So we may want to look at swapping out that carburetor for a new unit, but they're relatively inexpensive, and it's definitely something that'll fix a lot of the issues when it comes to idling. The other problem was the 12-volt wire that was here that energizes the coil for cold starts was run over here to a 5-volt wiring terminal. That won't work there. That'll cause all other kinds of problems, which might have affected the ignition wire, because that's where it was connected, was right there. So I routed that wire to a 12-volt source, which is over here, restoring 12 volts to it. So yeah, that's where we're at right now. This should always be 12 volts here, and that makes the coil work when it's cold out. And so a lot of wiring, some mechanical with the plugs being fouled out. And of course they were fouled out because it wasn't getting 12 volt here at the coil. It was only getting 6, so it was a weak spark. That means the fuel is covering the spark plugs and not burning off completely. It's not getting a hot spark. But that, like I said, that's been fixed now. And my next focus will be on the ignition switch, but we're starting to add up a lot of time. This should have been just a quick, swap out the spark plugs, get you down the road. I recommend spark plugs every 6 to 9 months, maybe a year, depending on how often you drive it. If you're driving it every week, you can get longer runs on the spark plugs. If you're not driving it but every 2 or 3 weeks, you'll want to change those plugs about every 6 months. They're real easy to get to, and even though these plugs look new, they look new from the outside, and they probably were new, but you can see that they're not firing. That's all oil and gas on there, and there's no, it should be white, like a light dull white on the end of there, and it should be kind of a gunmetal gray, and it's just not firing. And that was this case with every one of these spark plugs. They're just not hitting hard. With that voltage changed over, as long as the coil is in still good shape, and I'll check it on some road testing to make sure it's firing as hot as I want. But so far I can tell just by the way it's running, it could barely idle before, and that's because you just didn't have any fire going to the cylinders. That in combination with no fuel. It was on empty. I put 5 gallons in it, and when it came in it was showing empty, and now it shows completely full with 5 gallons of gas. So the sending unit, the gauge unit, is not working in the gas tank. So that might be a future visit where I can do some calibration, put a new sending unit in it. And also, if this filter down here fills up with dirty sediment, that tells me we need to put a new tank in it, so we can get rid of the items that maybe are plugging passageways. That's why I put so much filtration on the system, was to kind of see how, after you started driving the car, if it was going to need anything else as far as attention on the fuel system. And again, I don't like replacing parts unless they actually need to be replaced. So this will give me a good test on your fuel system. If it comes back dirty in a month or two, just keep an eye on it. It starts losing fuel, then we know that we need to look at the gas tank for some problems there. All right, also put a couple plugs in there on your firewall. I didn't like seeing towels. These are highly flammable, so I wanted to get that away from the motor and all the combustion and everything that's going on under the hood. Last thing you want is to start a fuel fire or something, and that fabric right there is a good igniter and safety issue. So I went ahead and pulled that out of there, but I kept it for you. All right, I'll keep at it, and I just wanted to get you an update that the car is running. It just has a lot of problematic issues, and again, I think it's involving a lot of the distributor and ignition parts that were put on here. They just needed to be checked. I just checked the firing order and all the plug wire locations just to verify that they're in the right spot, and the order is correct. And it is adjusting to timing. Again, my problem is here in the carburetor. I'm not getting enough adjustments out of it. So we may have to eyeball that for a replacement. All right, I'll keep you posted and let you know what else I find. Talk to you later. This is Manny with Classic Auto Repair.